Hello and welcome to The World Now. Let's start from Italy, where prosecutors say they have opened investigation into what they call a crime hypothesis of culpable shipwreck and manslaughter on the boatyard accident in Sicily. According to the police, no suspect has been arrested at the moment. Italian authorities confirmed that the final missing body found on Friday was that of 18-year-old Hannah Lynch, the daughter of British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch. They also say the yacht, called the Bayesian, likely sunk because of a downburst, which is a localized powerful wind that descends from a thunderstorm and spread out unpredictably. In Germany, police say 3 people have been killed and 8 injured in a knife attack in the western city of Solingen. The attackers who fled the scene is still being searched for by the police, which says the motive for the attack is still not clear. Celebrations are underway to mark the 650th anniversary of the city's foundation when the attack happened. The mayor says those who were at the event are still in a state of shock, horror, and grief. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz says the suspects must be caught quickly and punished to the full extent of the law. Independent White House candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped out of the U.S. presidential race and endorsed the former U.S. president and Republican candidate Donald Trump at a rally in Arizona. The 70-year-old Robert Kennedy Jr. has been a Democrat for most of his life. He is the scion of the Kennedy dynasty and says the principles that led him to leave the Democratic Party compelled him to throw his support behind Donald Trump. We have a report on this.
The son of U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy and nephew of President J.F. Kennedy is from the most famous family in Democratic history. To his family's outrage, he said in a press conference in Phoenix, Arizona on Friday that he wants to remove his name from the ballot in the U.S. 10 battleground states. With funds and national coverage reportedly drying up and November's election looming, Mr. Kennedy's polling slumped from a high of double digits. Kerry Kennedy, his sister, says his support for Republican Party candidate Donald Trump was a betrayal of the values that their father and family hold most dear, describing it as a sad ending to a sad story. Mr. Kennedy, on his part, admitted his decision is agonizing for him because of the difficulties it is causing his wife, children, and his friends. But he added that he is certain that it is what he is meant to do, and that certainty gives him internal peace even in storms.
And now, to throw my support to President Trump, the causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children.
Before welcoming RFK Junior to the stage, Donald Trump promised that if elected, he would release all remaining documents relating to the 1963 assassination of former President John F. Kennedy. Mr. Trump described Mr. Kennedy as being phenomenal and brilliant at the rally in Glendale. Rival Democratic Party candidate Kamala Harris says she would try to earn the support of the Kennedy voters. Mr. Kennedy is married to Cheryl Hines, who says she deeply respects her husband's decision to suspend his campaign but did not comment on his endorsement of Donald Trump. About 240 million people are eligible to vote in this year's U.S. election. Experts believe that a handful of states that could be won by the Democrats or Republicans will determine who could hold the key to the White House. 7 of such states are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
As the war between Russia and Ukraine continues, President Joe Biden announced additional aid for Kiev. The United States has also unveiled new sanctions from the U.S. Treasury and State Department, which hits almost 400 people and entities both in and outside Russia, including China. The sanctions unveiled ahead of Ukrainian Independence Day specifically targets those supporting the Russian supply chain and defense base, as well as those helping Moscow to evade current sanctions. In a further show of support for Ukraine, President Biden announced a new aid package that includes air defense missiles and counter-drone equipment. Mr. Joe Biden told the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that the package includes anti-armor missiles and ammunition. Well, talk still on the war. Russia says Ukraine has struck and damaged the third bridge in the Kursk region. Now, this is as the country's soldiers attempt to expand its incursion within Russian territory. Ukrainian authorities have yet to comment on the Russian claim. Despite gains in Russia's Kursk region, Ukrainian forces have been on the defensive near the strategic eastern city of Pokrovsk, where Russia has steadily advanced in recent weeks. The city, which had a pre-war population of around 60,000, is an important transport hub for Ukrainian supply lines in the eastern Donbass region. Under the heat of a lingering war, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky he is prepared to play a personal role to bring peace between his country and Russia. Prime Minister Modi has just paid a historic visit to Ukraine. The Indian leader was criticized by President Zelensky last month for hugging Russia's President Vladimir Putin during a trip to Moscow on a day Russia carried out deadly strikes against Ukraine. Ukraine's biggest children's hospital was affected. 73-year-old Narendra Modi, who told the Russian leader that the problems could not be solved in the battlefield, gave a warm hug to President Zelensky before pleading to mediate. Gaza's health ministry says Israeli attacks have killed 69 Palestinians and wounded 212 in the last 48 hours. This is as a Hamas delegation led by senior official Khalil al-Hayya arrived in Cairo for peace negotiations. The group will be reportedly briefed on the current status of talks, but it's not expected to take part in negotiations directly. With Israel issuing more evacuation orders in Gaza, people are reportedly scattered on the streets and sidewalks, not knowing where to go. Some have allegedly moved to agricultural lands, while others pitched tents on the beach. A senior diplomat has seen as a proponent of lethal weapons transfers to Israel, has reportedly appointed by the Biden administration shape the U.S. policy on Israel-Palestinian conflict. Mira Resnick is taking over the role of the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Israeli-Palestinian Affairs in the State's Department Middle East Office after Andrew Miller left the position this summer. Well, let's turn to Asia, where heavy rains, which inundated parts of Bangladesh and northeast India, have killed at least 36 people and caused rivers on both sides of the border to reach extreme levels. Rescuers are scrambling to evacuate flooded communities. Bangladesh Disaster Management Ministry says about 4.5 million people have been affected by the flooding, in which has swallowed hundreds of homes under water, leaving residents stranded on rooftops. The Indian government says at least 23 people have been killed in the northeastern state of Tripura. Heavy rains triggered floods and landslide has forced more than 65,000 people from their homes. Still in Asia, Afghanistan's Taliban have ruled against the sound of women's voices in public under a strict new set of vice and virtue laws of the country, the Islamist region. A government spokesman says the laws were issued after they were approved by the country's supreme leader. The laws cover aspects of everyday life like public transportation, music, shaving, and celebrations. Among the new rules, every part of a woman's body must be covered and clothing should not be thin, tight, or short. Let's turn our attention